Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, the founder, chairman, and CEO of Federated Media, John Battelle.
Hi, guys. Hello. Thanks for all the tweets about the smoothies and the music. I appreciate that. We try to get all the touches right. I know it's early, but I kept packing the sort of agenda with more and more stuff, and we sort of slid from 9:30 to 9 to 8:30, so thank you for coming at 8:30 to hear from John Hayes. I have a couple of thoughts for you to frame the show. We put a lot of thought into the program, and so I wanted to give you that framing. But first, if you're tweeting from an iPad, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 15 of you. All right, I just wanted to see how many iPad folks there were. Okay, how many of you are actually just tweeting from something? Because what we're trying to do is beat the WWDC in Cupertino, in Moscone, all right? Hashtag CM Summit, all right? Tweet early and often. I don't think we're going to be able to pull that off. But we were a trending topic 2 years in a row, so I'm trying to make it 3. A couple of things. I don't know if Chaz is here. Chaz Edwards, are you here yet? But it was a year ago that Chaz left us at FM, and I wanted to acknowledge that. He's running revenue over at Dig, and so it was a year ago on this stage when we said goodbye to him. So Chaz, we love you. I don't know if you're here, but he's going to be here later. And it was a year ago at this conference where I was flirting heavily with Deanna Brown. Michelle, not that way. And Deanna is now our president, and she joined us after seeing the CM Summit last year. So Deanna, thank you. Where are you, Deanna? You here? Welcome. She's been here for 9 months, but it's great to have her. She's awesome. She's making it possible for me to do more stuff like this. A few things. I wanted to thank our sponsors. If we could put the sponsors up there. These are the folks who made this possible. Our premier sponsor, Adobe. Our diamond sponsors, American Express Open, Facebook, who's going to be doing the reception later today, HP, who managed to sponsor us even though they have a massive printing announcement that they're making today, which is super cool, changing the industry kind of stuff. Our platinum sponsors, Bing and Blend, Google, Intel, Starcom, MediaVest, and Yahoo Smoothies. Our gold sponsors, Dell and Demand Media, Mobile Roadie, who did the really cool CM Summit mobile app. You should all download that. It has the agenda, has all the speakers, has everything on it. You can see the tweets as they roll by. Sprint and Verizon, and our media partners, the IAB, Internet Week, and Media Biz Blogger. So please join me in thanking those sponsors. All right. So let me give you some framing, some context to the way I've been thinking about marketing. This has been a really extraordinary year. I don't know about you, but this is sort of a hair-on-fire year in terms of what's happened in our industry 1 year ago to 1 year now. So I want to walk through it a little bit. We decided to call this marketing in real time, and you probably have a question mark about that. Hey, do I have a clicker, Stace? You know, it'd be probably good if I had a clicker, because then yeah, thank you. I do have a clicker. Awesome. Okay, so question mark. What does that mean? So let's set some context. I have this wonderful, no one remembers acronym called MOLARS, okay? The web just got its wisdom teeth. I wrote a post about it. Okay, not getting any response. The first is M, MOLARS M, the rise of mobile platforms, okay? So you've got a lot of data here, but this is what I call the obligatory Mary Meeker slide. You've all stolen slides from Mary Meeker's mobile, and admit it. Mary will be here later to give it from the horse's mouth, but this is very hard to see, but the really fast going up green line is in the history of mobile, in the history of adoption of technology, the fastest thing that ever happened was the iPhone, iPad, iTouch, okay? So the iPhone itself, 0 to 50 million units in 3 years. Android is now selling 60,000 units a day. The iPad went 0 to 2 million in 60 days. And there's 30 more tablets that I counted that are going to launch in the next year. 30. So they're going to sell some, is my guess, besides the iPad. So mobile has happened. The next is local. So mobile, local. And local has happened as well in the last year. In the last 3 years, Yelp has 10x'd its uniques in the United States. Foursquare has gone from nowhere to 2 million uniques in 2 years. How many of you checked in today? That's it. Awesome, about 25, 30% of you. Google has realized it has a lot of local assets, brought them all together, maps, local, and business into what they call places, which sounds pretty location-specific to me. And both Facebook, which has announced or indicated its location plans, and Twitter with @anywhere have integrated local. So local is a big deal. And then we have real-time. Now, real-time comes in kind of two flavors. You've got the real-time conversation status update activity stream, right? And these are some stats that I pulled from Chirp when I was helping with the Chirp conference back a month and a half ago, which is Twitter's developers conference. Twitter was doing 40 million tweets a day then. I'm sure it's higher now. Facebook, 60 million status updates. And if Tom from Facebook later wants to correct me, we'll be happy to upgrade that to whatever it is now. And then we've got this rise of the demand-side platform and this supply-side platform, the creation of a stock exchange for advertising inventory. This is a very big deal. Just last week, we heard that that Google acquired Invite Media, one of the leading DSPs. And what does that all mean? Well, fortunately, we have the VP of Ad Products and the head of US Sales from Google here to talk about that. And so we will probably see more of these kinds of deals soon. Real-time bidding is a big deal in the ad marketplace. So that's the real-time part of molars. And then, of course, we have the social part, right? And so I just did these little charts. Me and Excel were really good friends. I was cursing at the screen on the plane yesterday trying to make these charts prettier than they are, but up and to the right is what we all like to see. And this is Facebook, 34 million 3 years ago, 450 million now. And here's Twitter. Sort of nowhere 3 years ago, like less than 1 million of us were tweeting, and now over 125 million. Dick Costello will be here tomorrow morning, and we'll go over some more stats. It's pretty staggering, the statistics there. So social has taken off, clearly. I put all this together, and I framed it in this post called The Database of Intentions, version 2. Why version 2? Because version 1 was a book I wrote a long time ago called The Search. And these signals, all of these signals come at us as data, as marketers, as publishers, as service providers, as platform owners. They come at us as data. And I broke these signals down into their sort of component parts, right? You've got signals of purchase. This is e-commerce, Amazon, eBay, various other places. There is a lot of data around what we have purchased, what we intend to purchase, what we may purchase at some point. Right? And there are people who own a lot of this data, and they're Amazon, eBay, Walmart, and others. And then another signal is the query. Now, that's the one that sort of was the starting gun, right? Search. So you've got what I buy, and then the query is what I want. And there's a lot of wants, right? And there was a huge business to be built off that one signal, that search query signal. And then the social graph. We started to get in the last 5 years very, very comfortable with declaring not just what I want to buy or what I want, but who I am, right? Everybody declares who I am on the web now. Not just bloggers, but everybody with a Facebook page. And then who I know. We got increasingly comfortable as a culture declaring who I know, the social graph, right? And then a couple years ago, we got very comfortable declaring what I'm doing, what's happening, what's up, what's going on. Right? And that signal is the status update. That was the rise of Twitter and the rise of the newsfeed in Facebook. And then just recently, that just wasn't enough for us. So now we want to also say, here's where I am right now. Right? And that's a new signal that we call the check-in. Right? All of these signals are data. All of these signals can be mixed up, mashed up, used to lots of benefits, both to the consumer and to the marketer and to the platform or publisher. Right? But we have to be careful because all of this data creates a lot of issues. And these are some of the issues we're going to be talking about. We have the privacy versus publicity issue, right? What do I want to keep private? What do I want to make public? When and what context? How do I instrument it? We do not have the tools to instrument that conversation as much as we wish we did. And we are seeing some, I guess you could say, misalignment between those tools and our declarations and desires. Certainly in the last month, there's been a big privacy tempest, particularly with Facebook. Open versus closed. Who gets to play? Who gets access to this data? Who has control of the ecosystem? You can see this in particular with large companies who are competing. You cannot access Facebook through Google Buzz. You cannot do much of anything if it's not approved in Steve Jobs' world. However, it's a very beautiful world. I'm a fan of that world. And then we have this weird thing where everyone's in everyone else's business. Publishers, marketers, platforms, right? Marketers are publishers, publishers are marketers, platform services are media companies, platform services control the data and decide who they want to give it to. Can we all get along? Can we get an API with that so we can all interchange our information and start to create value? We have a lot of work left to do. So in a world of real-time data, I've been saying this for a long time, all marketers are now publishers, sort of the theme of last year's conference. Who was here last year? Raise your hand. Thank you. Wow, alumni. Yes. I think now all publishers are real-time publishers. We have to take this real-time data and make sense of it. It is a huge opportunity for our consumers and our customers to take that data and turn it into value back at them. That is what we do as publishers, right? So I want to give you an example of that. And I wrote this up as a post called the Gap Scenario. Okay, do you guys remember that a year ago, almost exactly, Gap ran a contest to get the best iPhone app? Remember that? It was like a big deal, got a lot of press. It was sort of a cool thing to do. Gap said, hey, you know, we're going to crown the best Gap iPhone app. Now, that was 1 year ago, and it's amazing how much has changed. The winner of that was an app where you could kind of pretend you're in a store, right? And you could sort of say, oh, you know, and the music greets you as the app opens. It's like walking into a store, just like when you go into Gap and you hear the music. And they made they took a lot of care with which music they were going to put on the app, right? Because they wanted to create that ambiance of being in the store. Well, in the Gap scenario now, you actually are in the store. As a matter of fact, you have a phone, you put it in, it's in your pocket, it's on your person. As you walk through the store door, the phone, maybe you have it on vibrate, it vibrates, and you realize, of course, the phone knows and Gap knows you're in the store. You pull it out, and what you see is, welcome to Gap in Manhattan, you know, on 40th Street, John. Saw you were here last month, and you got a blouse for your daughter. How's she liking that? 5 of your friends have been here in the last week, and here's what they've bought. I know your sister's birthday is coming up. Would you like to look at something for her? Here's her wish list from Amazon, right? And then as you're staring at your phone and you look up and you realize actually you're not in for all those other people, you need something for yourself, right? So you walk over to the big stack of jeans, which is utterly confusing and you can't deal with it, and you hold your phone up and go, just find me a 34 regular, right? And the phone says 3 down and 1 over to the right. And then a clerk comes over and says, can I help you, Mr. Battelle, right? And she's got her own phone and it's got all of your information. Now what's happened is when you walked into that store, that's a search. That's the declaration of intent, right? That's all the things we talked about, molars, all coming together to create a publishing environment where I request information of Gap, Gap delivers it to my phone, and then Gap delivers it in the form of a clerk, right? I've written the whole scenario up here. Suffice to say, a year ago, no one had that idea for an iPhone app. Now, it's entirely possible, and it's our job as marketers to create it. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be in a retail situation. I use that as a scenario example just to get our juices flowing here. But it can happen online, offline, and both, and should, and will. So that's the Gap scenario. All right, so let's get on with the show. Every year I do this, 60 seconds, 60 brands. Here we go. We're starting with American Express and John Hayes. He'll be out here in a minute. Then we're going to hear from Adobe. Then we're going to hear from Facebook. These are case studies. Then we're going to hear another case study from a really interesting company called Sticky Bits, which is part of the Gap scenario. Then we're going to hear from Yahoo. I'm going to interview Hillary Schneider. And then we're going to have a little discussion with the heads of 2 major agencies, Razorfish and Group M. Then we're going to hear a case study from Boxy, Reinventing Television. Then we're going to have a conversation about the future of marketing to business with Dell and HP and Amex. Then we're going to hear a case study from Cisco. Then Mary's going to wow us with data about the mobile internet. We're going to hear a case study from Foursquare. Then we're going to hear a case study from Google Buzz. Then we're going to talk to the CEO of AdMob, who is very relieved that the FTC decided to approve his merger. He might not have shown up otherwise. And then we're going to have a discussion about metrics, measurement, and mobile with Fleury Quantcast and Web Trends. And Del Monte giving us the consumer, the brand view of that. Then we're going to hear from the chairman of the New York Times, Arthur Sulzberger. Then we're going to hear from the chief operating officer and responsible adult at Twitter, Dick Costolo. Then we're going to hear from Google, Susan Wojcicki, who's been there since they started in her garage, and Dennis Woodside, the head of US sales. Then we're going to have a case study from Moxie Interactive about video games. We're going to have a case study from Starbucks. We're going to hear from the CEO of AOL. We're going to hear from the new Chief Revenue Officer of Demand. We're going to hear from Condé Nast and OMD and Euro on marketing to women with our own Deanna Brown. Then we're going to hear from Tony Hsieh. I just finished Tony's book. It's very inspirational, and it's quite a story. I can't wait to talk to him. We're going to hear a case study from our friends at Intel. And then we're going to talk about this whole demand-side data platform with VivaKey, BlueKai, and Microsoft, as well as Omnicom. That should be very interesting. And then we'll end with Arianna Huffington. This is going to be a really good show,